Here's a secret most creatives don't realize. Originality isn't about being first, it's about being authentic. Almost every story you love, whether it's from superheroes to fairy tales to sci-fi to romantic comedies, has been told 1,000 times before. The difference isn't the story itself, it's the lens of the storyteller. And the most recent example of this is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, a story retold countless times, but his version might just be the most personal one yet. Let's talk about why that matters and what that means for you as a creative. Guillermo del Toro has been dreaming about making Frankenstein for nearly 2 decades. And this year, that dream is finally becoming a reality. It stars Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, reimagined as this flamboyant rock star, and Jacob Elordi as the creature, a tragic figure shaped by innocence, abuse, and rejection. Now, here's what's fascinating. Instead of focusing on the science like Mary Shelley's original novel, Del Toro retells it as a deeply personal story about family trauma, forgiveness, and the pain that parents pass down to their children. He even avoided heavy CGI, choosing practical sets and handcrafted detail to ground the film in its own old school cinematic style. Which reminds me of one of my top favorite directors, Christopher Nolan, but I can riff on that a whole separate video. Christopher Nolan, yeah, moving forward. So think about this. Frankenstein is one of the most retold stories in history, and yet Del Toro didn't try to make it brand new. He told it his way, through his lenses. That's why it feels powerful, fresh, and deeply personal. And that's what I want to talk about today in this episode. Creativity doesn't always mean inventing something new. Sometimes it means taking something that has already been told and then making it your own, making it yours, right? And we see that a lot through Hollywood. And sometimes we just don't even realize it, but it's happening. Now, I know that I have to be careful because we are for sure in a time where prequels and sequels are happening constantly, and it's causing a lot of fatigue with audience members. But I truly think that what I'm going to talk about in this episode is different than that. And I want to start off by talking about why retelling works. Why retelling works, okay? Now, here's the truth. Retelling works because something that is familiar creates connection. Familiarity creates connection. Audiences are naturally drawn to stories that they recognize. And I truly believe that. And there are levels to that statement of what I just said. Because a story that is familiar to audience members, it comforts them. It resonates with them. It makes them feel like timeless, right? For examples. Think about this. Think about these genres. The hero's journey. Now, in these stories of the hero's journey, we follow a character that is leaving their original world, and they face trials and they return transformed. Okay. For instance, The Lion King, well known. Simba's journey from exile to reclaiming his throne. Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's rise from farm boy to Jedi hero. Well known one, right? Here's another big one, sci-fi, The Matrix. Neo awakens to his true identity and battles the machines. Here's another genre, love stories. Love stories, they are centered on relationships, longing and connection, right? Titanic, Jack and Rose's tragic but passionate love story, huge one. La La Land, love and ambition pulling 2 artists towards each other and then apart. Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy overcoming pride, prejudice, and social barriers, right? Here's another one, The Underdog Story, right? Where it deals with one person or a group of people who fight against the odds and they inspire triumph. Rocky, right? A small-time boxer gets a shot at the heavyweight title. Rudy, love Rudy. A young man pursues his dreams of playing football at Notre Dame despite obstacles. Now, side note, Rudy is a movie that still sticks with me till this day. I mean, I love stories where we see the protagonists work on themselves. We see them start low and then build themselves up until they get to a point where they become great and defy all odds. I love that. And one movie that does that is The Pursuit of Happiness, right? Chris Gardner's struggle from homelessness to success through perseverance. Listen, we see these stories again and again because they're really intertwined and woven into human history. So there's nothing new with that, okay? But here's the best part. When you retell, you're not just starting from scratch. You're building on a foundation that's already proven, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to make the wheel roll in the direction you want it to go. And by doing that, you're showing that your lens is the difference. Your lens is the difference. The way you see a thing is different from the way others see that thing. And that's valuable. That's key. Because how you see a thing is totally different from how other people see it. That's the changer, right? Now, here's where I believe the magic actually happens when we're dealing with your lens. For example, the movie Alien versus Predator. The alien was still the alien we've seen before. The predator is still the predator that we've seen before, except this time they put a twist on how the story was told in that moment for those audiences. They use two different characters that have already been used in film, but they told a different story by having them go against each other. The same thing happens in art, in music, in film, and in writing. I mean, Shakespeare's plays are centuries old, but they're constantly retold through different lenses. Lin-Manuel Miranda took one of the oldest stories, history itself, and retold it as Hamilton through the lens of hip hop. That's the power of perspective. Your voice, your culture, your generation, your struggles, your joy. That's what transforms the already told into something brand new. Now, while you're retelling stories, you may deal with the fear of copying. And this is big for me. I hate feeling like I'm copying someone else's work, right? But let's be clear and hear me out. Everything has already been done. Okay? Everything has already been done. Everything. Okay? The difference is this. Copying is plagiarism. Retelling is transformation. Copying is plagiarism. Retelling is transformation. One is stealing. The other is storytelling. Now, I learned this idea from this book called Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Get that book. You as a creative should read this book and have it in your library. It's a must read. It is a short read, but it is a beneficial one. So you as a creative, you need to have that book. Still Like an Artist. So here's a practical. So if you're stuck, right, and you're trying to figure out a story to tell, here's a practical step. Take a story that you already love, whether that be a fairy tale or a myth or my personal favorite, a Bible story or your favorite movie. Take those things, right? Take that story and ask yourself, how would I tell this? How would I tell this through my culture, my generation, or my medium? That's where originality is born. It's not about being first. It's about being authentic, right? Now, here are my final thoughts. Del Toro didn't just try to erase Frankenstein. He retold it through his heart, his vision, his craftsmanship. And you can do the same with your creative work. So, what is a story that you've always wanted to retell through your lenses, through your experience, through your culture, right? What is that story? That is where you start. Start building from there. Whatever that idea is, drop it in the comments below. And if this gave you a spark today, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with other creatives who needs this reminder. Let's create.